2024 and beyond is going to be disruptive. The coming of AI, generative AI is taking over a lot of intelligence, taking over a lot of jobs. In the face of this, what roles will humanity or human beings play in the world of technology?
And I almost like to rephrase that and actually say, within your job, it is taking on tasks that can be automated. It's freeing up space for you. That leads you to have time and space to do the things you actually love. AI is helping you free up the time to be able to do that. And we haven't had that luxury. Now we're moving into the world of being creators. We have to become creators. Tap into what drives us and also working with AI in order to make that a reality.
Maybe this thing doesn't exist for me. Do you really, like, from your experience, like, is it with everyone?
It is with everyone.
If there's one skill that we would recommend people develop, it is... Welcome back to our New Year's special episode for the Rise of Intelligence. Today, we're actually very lucky. We have an international guest from Malaysia who spent close to 10 years in Southeast Asia, previously working as an investor, investing in founders. And today, she turned her career from an investor to founders to a coach to founders in Southeast Asia. The topic that we're going to be engaging in today is one of very timely discussion at the start of the year. As many people are going into the new year thinking, how do I reinvent myself, especially in the age of technology, in the age of AI? Is this going to disrupt my job? Is this going to take my living away? Today, we're discussing the human's role, unique role in the world of intelligence. Welcome, Becky, to the episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Let's kick off with coaching. I think a lot of people have an idea of what a coach is. People have seen, the Lamborghini, Ferrari coach who tells you, oh, make passive income at 35. And they have an idea stuck in their mind. That's what a coach looks like. What does coaching mean to you, and what do you do with your clients?
Coaching, in its simplest term, can be just described as a unique and intentional relationship between two people geared towards change. So it's comprised of three parts, right? And this will probably sound very similar to you, to other dynamics like therapy, but it's a conversation. So I would be holding a methodology of conversation with you where I'm asking you questions so you can answer deep questions about yourself to help you move in alignment with your goals and your values. It's also a really safe space. So it's a space that is fully confidential, where you can be fully open with me and really address those hard topics of where do I want to go, right? If it's about intentional change, okay, where am I really at and where do I really want to go? So it's a safe space for that. It's also time passes between the sessions, you go on with your life and you take these conversations into your own life and you actually bring them into learning or action, right? So I'll be there along the steps of the way, helping you stay accountable to your own word, right? And following through on how that's going to look in the next session, making sure there's some movement. So it's really all about you. And helping you hit your goals. And the way I work is, as you mentioned, I work with founders. I have a background working with startups and investors. So it's really about helping founders or even senior executives find clarity on what they want to do in their lives or how they want to grow. And
that's super important, right? Like, I think in today's world, knowing where you want to go is already half the battle.
Exactly.
Because there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of possibilities even of how to build a company or how to run your life. Having that inner clarity is crucial to moving in the right direction, not spending years like running around in a circle.
I think actually the biggest problem that at least my clients face is the pre-step to clarity. In order to find clarity, you just need to make space for yourself and give yourself the priority as if you were your own company. So instead of your project, instead of your department, your role, your family, it's actually like, no, actually you are center stage. You're number one. If you were to look at yourself like a company,
how would you treat yourself
how would
as
you,
a company?
like what are your priorities? What would make you be at the top of your game, right?
I see.
So helping people do that for themselves is really a key step.
Okay.
Yeah.
So understanding who you are and prioritizing your goals, your life as center focus, as if this was your business and how you would operate this business. So today I think it's a timely discussion because we're also talking about reinvention. And a lot of people are in the mode of thinking 2024 and beyond is going to be disruptive, right? Like in the rise of intelligence, we've talked previously about the coming of AI, that it's already here. People are seeing it, like generative AI is taking over a lot of intelligence, taking over a lot of jobs. And a lot of people are scared or on the lookout. Will it come out for me? Will it come out from my jobs? Because, you know, there was days when people thought, oh, jobs like programmers, these are very sophisticated type of work. No way computers are going to replace it. And now junior programmers are getting replaced. ChatGPT writing its own code, simple stuff it's being able to do, even more complicated stuff it's learning how to do. In the face of this, what roles will humanity or human beings play in the world of technology?
That's a big question. So I almost want to take a step back because you said it's taking away jobs. And I almost like to rephrase that and actually say within your job, it is taking on tasks that you don't need to do yourself, that can be automated. It's freeing up space for you, right? So I mean, there's a lot of speculation of like, where is this all headed? And it's like a big black box. And to be honest, like no one knows. No one knows where we're going, right? We'd like to think we do, but we really don't. But what we can do is say, okay, in this time of uncertainty, what we can do is take control of what is under our control, which is us. So if we were to say, what are the next immediate steps for us in this, I guess, frame of mind of tasks being taken over by a machine, or if you want to take it to that far, right? My role, my current role being taken over, where does that lead you? And that leads you to have time and space to do the things you actually love. And that might sound a little bit weird because you're like, well, I'm going to lose my job if I spend my time on things I love. Like, how is that actually, like, that's kind of
To a
ridiculous.
lot of people, it sounds silly, a little bit silly, right? Like, oh, I love painting, but I can't imagine me painting for the rest of my life and earning a living while doing my painting. I think for some people, that's what it sounds like. Like, my job is serious. You know, I wake up on a Monday, I wear a suit, I wear a tie, I go to the office, I do serious stuff.
Well, I mean, fair. You can make it about serious stuff. You can be working at a bank. You can be doing projects. You can be a marketer. It doesn't really matter. Even within that job, it creates space for what am I really good at? What do I really enjoy? What is that top 1% of Becky? That top 1% of Alvin?
What do you mean by that? Like, that's a very interesting point. Like, what does a top 1% mean to you?
I think top 1% is what is completely your own. It is completely unique to you. If you were to look at it in like with relating it to business, right? It's like your own niche. If you're talking about you as an individual within your role, it's actually not anything that you should be concerned about anybody copying ever. They can't. They don't have your background. They don't have your upbringing, your experiences, the way you interpret the world. I mean, of course, there's some shared, things we have with other human beings, but there's just millions of different points that make who you are that it's impossible for anybody to imitate, right? So it's actually allowing you to bring that into whatever you're doing. Because the machines are helping you. AI is helping you free up the time to be able to do that. And we haven't had that luxury.
If you think about it, like, if I get what you're saying, it's along the line of, okay, you used to be able to do like, let's say 10 different tasks. And you really like this one thing that you enjoy and you can do this thing for hours and hours on end. But there are like this 9 other things that you have to do. Some things like taking a meeting note,
Yeah.
summarizing this topic,
Yeah.
or like going in and then building this Excel file, or data analysis or reports and this and that you think, damn, if I only had the time to be focusing on the one thing that I really like and I can excel in that thing, like that would be so good for me. Like I would do it so well that it takes me above and beyond.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
can you give a practical example of like things you see in your life or like from people you've coached? Like, what does that look like for them? Does everyone have that innate in who they are? Or some people are also asking, I don't know what that thing is. Like, I go to my job, I sort of like what I do, but not really sure. Like, do I have that one task where I'm in a flow state?
Yeah. I think that's a very common topic. It's not how do I live out my 1%, is like, what the heck is my 1%?
Yeah.
Like, where do I start looking?
Yeah.
Right. And the reality is, when the way we operate or the way the world works today is that we're constantly fueled by externalities, right? The way we prove ourselves in our role, and what are the social cues or the checklist, the tick box that we need to prove to the world to level up, get into a good school and open a certain network, and always these externalities, right? So, and it's not something you learn at school. What are you good at without all these social topics, right? So yeah, it's a really common topic that comes up in coaching. Like, what is my 1%? And I like to take people to a very basic, I would say almost like a day-to-day kind of practice before you even start to think of what that is. And the very first step is actually to create space, first and foremost. Like, to understand that this is a process. You're not going to get it at a flip of a switch. It's going to take a few weeks, and it's going to take some consistent work. So in order to create the conditions for you to understand what that 1% is, you first have to create space for it. And that's what a lot of people find really difficult, especially, in fast moving businesses and being in a founder position. Like, you must know it yourself, right? It's, you want to be meeting the demands. However, what I like to do with people is actually invite them to start welcoming pauses, not even creating them, but welcoming pauses in their day that they didn't want to have there. So for example, if you're sitting in traffic and you left 10 minutes early, right? You think, okay, I'm going to skip the traffic, but you happen to get in the car 10 minutes early as planned. You get in, you hit traffic. And usually people go, damn it. So instead of saying and resisting, it's actually welcoming it and being like, oh, life has given me a pause. I've been given a moment to actually create space for myself. And this brings me to, I guess, pre-step number 2, right? Which is begin to invite your intuition. In these pauses, even if it's, you're standing in the coffee shop and you're also waiting in line for too long, all these like unexpected like setbacks, right? You welcome that pause. It's more of a gentle contemplation.
Gentle contemplation.
It's like like when you go out, I think you were mentioning this to me earlier, when you go out and you're like, I just want a sign. Just show me a sign. It's like you set an intention of, okay, I have created this space, and I'm just curious, what makes me tick? Or even before you start to think what makes you tick and what is your 1%, you can start really small. What do I want to have for dinner today?
What do I have? What do I want to have for dinner today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because usually, like, it's crazy, like, how much we walk around and absolutely every decision we make is externally driven. It's, oh, maybe my husband wants to go somewhere, or, oh, I have to be with people at work. I can't miss out on that. Or, oh, they want to eat that. It makes my stomach
This
upset.
is trendy right now. I need to go take a photo, or I need to be
Exactly.
here because it just opened up a few weeks ago. And if I'm not there, then I look like I'm not keeping up.
Yeah, you're not
with the
keeping
socials.
up. Exactly.
Yeah.
So everything is externally driven. But in these moments, you can just be, okay, what do I really feel like for dinner? And then instead of looking for an answer, just wait. Allow the silence to take over. And something will happen. Something will happen in your body. Something will happen, a color in your mind or an image or a word like, oh, pasta. Like I can see the slow motion pasta, just like, a fork. You could just see that image maybe. And it's like, that's what I want to do. So I always advise people, and I hate using advisor, but I work with people to get in touch with that inner knowing of what they want. And that is just done. You start doing it habitually. You make it part of your lifestyle by just asking simple questions before you start asking the big questions.
Okay. So it's like baby steps.
Yeah.
You need to first take the baby step before you master it, and then you understand, then you go on to the next level.
Yeah.
So it starts first by looking at what do I really want? And what is it that I'm doing for other people? And learning to understand the difference.
Yes.
In yourself.
And you get to know yourself very practically and experientially this way. Now, once you've done this, and it could be that you do this for a few days, a few weeks, the questions you ask or the intention you ask starts to become bigger. And as those questions get bigger, you can also start to, like what you did the other day, like look outside of yourself and say, show me a sign that this was the right decision. So let's take the example of going to a restaurant, right? So you decide pasta was on my mind. I'm going for pasta. I'm going to that restaurant. And then when you go to that restaurant, you just simply start to note, you ask, show me this was a good sign. And maybe you meet someone there that happens to be a business contact or that shares a common interest with you. And they're like, yeah, let's start a project, and you exchange numbers. How is that not a sign, right? So all this is doing is actually really teaching you to be in conversation with yourself and your reality. Instead of just going like automaton, like hamster in the wheel every day, just doing the same thing, you're working hard. It's not that you're not using your brain and being intelligent and you're not engaged, but you're not working that real, true inner fulfillment and engagement with life. Like what really makes me tick, okay, I'm going to follow that. And all of a sudden you start getting curious. You met that person. Oh, that's interesting. And then there's a thread starts. And this is how you start on a micro, almost lifestyle level to start cultivating that fertile ground for, I am looking for what really, truly moves me. So if you're really going to savor that, it's habitually creating spaces to always and only be talking about your top 1%. What is the best for me right now? What do I truly want?
And it's already not super simple. Like from listening to it, it sounds simple. What do I want for dinner?
Yeah.
But in reality, I think there's just so much things going on that we tend to live our lives in a flow, like not in a flow state, but in a constant state of movement. Your calendar's packed, your meeting schedule packed, you go home, you meet someone, or you have to do this thing, or you have to go out with your friends. Otherwise, like they're like, why are you not participating? Why are you being antisocial?
Yeah.
Or on Saturday and Sundays, there's activities that you should be doing or you need to be doing. Either it's good for you or like someone else is doing it. And you end up living your life in the busy. And when you have a downtime, you feel, fuck, I'm wasting my time. I need to be doing something that's productive. So sometimes I also fall into the habit of that. Like I would listen to like an audiobook for like the 15-minute, even though it's like, do you really want to be doing this thing right now?
Yeah.
Is it just overworking yourself, overworking your brain?
Yeah.
Should you just be like quiet down? Like you should, like when you're in a quiet moment in a car, maybe you just sit there. You don't listen to music. You don't listen to podcasts. You don't listen to news. You don't listen to anything. You just sit there. And that's hard. I feel like that's hard in a world where distractions are just so easy to tap into. Like your phone is just a few centimeters away and it's always buzzing and binging. There's something going on. So how do you do it? How do you make it a practice in your life to stay still and get that moment?
Well, I'll tell you straight off the bat, I fail miserably all the time. I think that's also a really important part, right? Is to realize that it's not like you figure it out and then all of a sudden you're going to be like that all the time. As I mentioned, it's a conversation. It requires your constant engagement and you change over time. So you come up with very creative ways of following into the same bad habits. But I think when it comes to like, how do you really bring it into your daily life, even especially with such a busy schedule, it's not necessarily about scratching that schedule or canceling and making these drastic changes. It's actually just simply about embracing what is in your calendar, even in between those scheduled moments, just even articulating what you're doing. I'm getting into the car to go and see that friend. I'm walking up the stairs to sit down for that meeting. I'm, just articulating, again, you create that observer effect, right? That self-awareness.
So the
is
observer
created.
effect is key.
It is.
So you're like
is.
observing yourself from a third person's perspective.
Yes. Okay. And even just through self-awareness, things start to change because you're not all of a sudden it, you see it, right? And then you can start to notice, oh, I'm doing that thing again. Oh, I'm rushing myself, right? You start to notice because you've created that distance and space, right? So that's a very small way of doing it with what is existing already without changing much. And that already alone, if you can manage to, in between your scheduled day, just notice yourself is step one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like for the viewers watching, in the world where now they're thinking about what's next, first step is to pause and understand that with this artificial general intelligence or artificial intelligence coming into your life, it's going to give you more free time. And before deciding on what you fill that free time with, maybe use that free time to take it as a space given to you to really think. So if you could do your work faster and you suddenly have 35 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour of free time, instead of taking that next step, oh, what more can I do to fill this slot? Stop.
Get bored. Or it's not even think. It's like, enjoy yourself. What do I want to listen to? Okay, I want to listen to some Katy Perry. I don't know, she just popped into my mind, right? Who knows why? Just do it. Just put it on. Just do something that is outside of your current modus operandi. Just allow it to happen. Whatever voice that comes in your head, whatever image, you can allow that to happen and see what happens. And that is just a predecessing step to figuring out, how am I going to fill that gap? How am I going to be of value in the future? What do I really want? And what do I want to focus my time on? Yeah.
For the ambitious, driven person in the room, like I can already hear the voice going, sounds like a little bit, it's going to be a challenge. Even if you're convinced, even if you're hooked, it's going to be a challenge to change your mode of operation from busy, I get shit done, to I need to start relaxing a little bit. Because that's what it sounds like. I need to start relaxing a little bit and opening up to possibilities.
Well, it's not necessarily actually relaxing. When you start doing these things, actually, sometimes you get very cross, very upset, very annoyed, frustrated.
Okay.
Right? And then it's actually quite challenging. So you can just simply look at this as an exercise of getting to know what's really happening inside of you. So if that anger comes up or that resistance or that challenge, well, simply just get curious. Like, what am I actually really angry about? Why am I so resistant to this? This starts a conversation with your friends, with your family, with your loved ones. You can start to create those social networks, right? By connecting with your fellow human being and being like, this is where I stand. Actually, I'm feeling this way. This is a trigger for me. This excites me. And start to create a deeper connection with others. Social proof, accountability, so to speak.
So you should share this concept with the world.
Yeah.
Share it with the people close to you, so that it becomes something that we can all do together. Okay. So you have that, you're in that mode, And then the question is, where do I go from there? So I'm tuned into who I am. I see this. Do you really think that in the future, a lot of people are asking, like, in the future, there might not be that 1% left for human beings? Like, a lot of people are quietly scared, actually. Like, maybe this thing doesn't exist for me. From your experience, like, is it with everyone?
It is with everyone, but it's more accessible for others than it is it's more accessible for some than for others. And I think a lot of the time people like to give up because, again, instant gratification, that's the world we live in, right? We are heavy consumers, right? And we're in a world that's feeding that consumerism. But now we're moving into, with AI, now we're moving into the world of being creators. We have to become creators in order to be on par with what's happening and actually live in that 1%. We have to work with AI. That means we have to stop just letting other people decide for us and start to tap into what drives us and also working with AI in order to make that a reality. Right?
The path you've laid out is interesting to explore. The word creators.
Yes.
I've actually observed this. I was talking with Mark, one of Alto's co-founder. So, and he said, you know, in Thailand, or at least in the Southeast Asian society, people above 60, 65, they have this perception that work is work. You know, you go to work, you do what you're told to do, or you actually do what is necessary, what you're responsible for. And younger people nowadays have a different understanding. Like, some people are doing what they like to do. They're turning what their passion is into work. And sometimes this is seen, when you see it over a lens of economic development or technology development, it makes sense. 60 years ago or 40 years ago, you didn't have tools like the internet. So if you wanted to do gaming for a living and you wanted to be a gamer, that job didn't exist at all. Like, you had to actually do something that existed that was good for the country. That's why there were doctors, people who cared other people. That's doctors, engineers, builders of things, and then lawyers help mitigating crisis and problems among social groups, right? And this became the main mode of operation in society, like the 3 jobs, and everybody had to somehow learn skills to fit into these, or businessmen or traders, but there weren't a lot of options available. 40 years later, we're in an age of internet. We have options. If you wanted to sell stuff online, if you want to make your own brand, if you're somebody who's passionate about games, you want to do a talk show, like, you have more options.
Yes.
Technology simply gave us that option,
Yeah.
that time to really dig into our passion. And from what it sounds like, with this new technology, it's even going to be able to take more load away from human beings. So it can take away that thinking jobs. Sometimes it's reporting, sometimes it's critically analyzing this group of data and building up this set of understanding. Maybe you can tell it to do it. You can be the navigator. You say, do this, do that, build me $1 million company plan. How do I do that? How do I get to that?
Yeah.
And then execute the top 3 of that $1 million plan.
Yeah.
Then the human role, from what it sounds like in this conversation, becomes guiding it, telling it what to do, giving it that sense of direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Become the creator.
Exactly. So once you do feel like you've created this practice, and then you start to get in touch with what you really like to do, and then you can start to shift from consumer to creator, and then you can start using AI as a tool to help automate the stuff, the boring stuff behind those ideas, and still continue to create space for continuing that idea. So, you know, entrepreneurship in the 2000s required a much bigger team. right? It required so many more resources, even though that was just 20 years ago, right? Now we can pretty much be a one person show and have a side business or do a project with a friend and manage to bring that to fruition. Now, for all those people who are a little bit older, who grew up in that society, that's like, you got to be a doctor, a lawyer, corporate, and follow that train of thought. I mean, you can go about it in many different ways, right? One is maybe through this exercise of pausing contemplation brings up a hobby, just something that gives you joy. Well, you can use AI to create a spreadsheet for your budget for this hobby, or have that side hustle, right? To try it out and see, have someone that's helping you on the sidelines or giving you advice, or create content if you want to become a content creator. Who knows,
and
right?
It's right now, like I think even our previous episode, the previous guest, we were talking about AI actually becoming your teacher. So if you have an interest and you've never pursued it, like right now is a perfect time to actually explore that and say, if I'm interested in gardening, hey, be the best gardener in the world.
Yes.
And teach me how to build my garden. Here's my garden. Here's what it looks like. Take a picture. And then I want flowers here. I want flowers there. How do I do it?
Yeah.
What seeds do I get? How do I plant it? What type of soil is good environment? What do I put on top? Like you can use it as a teacher to teach you, to guide you slowly towards what you're interested in.
Exactly. You don't have to know the steps.
Yeah.
Right?
So you don't have to know the steps.
Even in your role, right? If you are one of those people who are in this 20-year-long career and you're trying to experiment, what is the impact of AI on me, on my team? And there's a glimmer of something that interests you, but you dismiss it as no, that's just folly. That's just something, allow yourself to just get into ChatGPT and ask it a question, see what pops up, right? See what you can automate for yourself, right?
Learn about it.
Yeah, and learn about it. Having a conversation at the end of the day with yourself. And what you're learning to do is really just ask the right questions. Yeah, so it's a worthy exercise. Yeah.
Just as a leaving note for people, because you bring up the word creator and consumer. What does a consumer look like in this scenario? What does a consumer for AI look like?
A consumer for AI, so for example, if you need to write a blog post and you tell AI, hey, I need to write me a blog post about this topic, including these 3 points. It comes up with something, and the first answer that comes up, okay, copy, paste, done, post, done. Everybody can do that in a way that's passive, right? Because you're just allowing it to tell you what it should be in that blog post. It's still work, right? It's not like it's taking up 90% of your job and you just have to leave it at that, right? Continuing to ask question, again, stay in conversation. Like, okay, I actually really like that point. Can you please elaborate on that one point? That, can we make that 2 paragraphs instead of 1?
And pushing it a little bit.
Yeah. And it's so being a consumer of AI is just allowing it to tell you and accept, and that's it, done, and being a creator or co-creator rather is actually using it as if it was another partner in the room where you are discussing and building something together.
Debating with it, pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
absolutely.
not just like, okay, before maybe you could write a blog post, took you 3 hours and you were happy. Now that it could be done in 20 minutes or 5 minutes, maybe try a better blog post.
Yes.
Maybe try to write the best blog post you've ever written in your life and get curious about all the little elements in that blog post so that it becomes the best piece of work you've ever done.
Yeah.
And that requires curiosity.
Yeah.
So I guess the message we're leaving the audience with today is, in 2024, if there's one skill that we would recommend people develop, it is get curious, get more curious about who you are and what you really want and where do you want to go? Because with that curiosity, right now you have a world-changing tool at the tip of your finger in order to execute your vision and make it real. Use that tool as a creator not a passive consumer where you just sit back, let it do its thing, and just don't touch it and just like, okay, well, AI can now do this. If you go that route, it will replace people in jobs. But if you go the route of, oh, now it can do this, and I push it even further, I think, or I give it an interesting question, and I try to push it as much as I can, and do that with what makes you and your passion, then I think people have a very unique role to play in the world to come.
Definitely.
Thank you very much for this episode, Becky.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.